Long before the kingdom learned the sound of peace, it learned the sound of fear. It echoed through marble halls and stone corridors, carried on the hurried footsteps of servants and the hushed whispers of ministers. Fear lived in the tightening of shoulders when the throne room doors opened. It lingered in the shallow breaths of guards who stood straighter than statues, knowing that even the smallest mistake could cost them dearly. At the center of it all sat the king. He was a powerful ruler. There was no denying that. His armies were strong, his laws swift, his treasury full. Neighboring lands spoke his name with caution, sometimes even admiration. He was intelligent, well-read, and sharp-minded. From a young age, he had learned strategy, philosophy, and governance. His mind could grasp complex matters with ease, yet for all his wisdom, the king carried a dangerous flaw. His temper burned faster than dry grass in summer. Anger rose in him suddenly, often without warning, and once it took hold, it ruled him completely. In those moments, reason vanished. Thought became clouded. Decisions came not from calm judgment, but from raw emotion. A misplaced word, a delayed response, a minor oversight, any of these could ignite his fury. And when the king was angry, the kingdom paid the price. A servant once forgot to polish a silver goblet. The punishment was public humiliation. A guard misheard an order and closed the gates too late. He was stripped of his rank. A court official dared to question a decision made in haste. He was dismissed on the spot, his years of service forgotten. No one dared speak against the king when his anger flared. They had learned that emotions ruled him more than wisdom ever did. Yet few knew that this had not always been the path laid before him. As a boy, the king had once been different. In his youth, before the crown had touched his brow, he had been a curious child, eager to learn and surprisingly gentle. And beside him, always, had been his teacher. The old man wore simple robes and owned little. Yet his knowledge was vast, and his patience seemed endless. "Knowledge fills the mind," the teacher once said, "but wisdom shapes the soul." The prince had not understood those words then. Years passed. The prince became king. The teacher, now old and bent with age, quietly left the palace. Life carried them in different directions. And so the king ruled, brilliantly, fiercely, and angrily, until the day the past returned to sit at his table. The announcement came unexpectedly. A royal messenger said, kneeling low, "A traveler seeks an audience. He claims to have once been your teacher." The king paused. Teacher? The word stirred something buried deep beneath layers of authority and pride. For a brief moment, the tension in his brow softened. "Bring him," the king said. That evening, the palace prepared a feast. Golden lamps lit the long dining hall. Silver dishes were arranged with precision. Servants moved silently, careful not to disturb the fragile calm. When the teacher entered, time itself seemed to slow. He was older now, his hair white, his back slightly stooped, but his eyes were the same, calm, observant, kind. They sat together, sharing food and memories. They spoke of lessons from long ago, of youthful mistakes and forgotten dreams. The king laughed, a sound rarely heard in the palace. Peace hovered over the table. Then it happened. A fly, small and insignificant, drifted through the warm air and landed directly in the king's soup. The moment shattered. The king froze, staring at the dark shape floating in the broth. His jaw tightened, his hands clenched. Anger surged, swift, familiar, uncontrollable. He slammed his hand on the table. "What is this?" he shouted. "A fly in my soup? How dare you be so careless?" The servants paled. "Lies!" he roared. "Incompetence! You insult me in my own palace!" Then quietly, the teacher spoke. "Your Majesty, please think for a moment. Even small things like this ruin my mood," the king said. The teacher smiled. "Your Majesty, the fly did not destroy your peace. Your reaction did." The words struck deeper than any accusation ever had. "One who cannot rule over his own emotions," the teacher continued, "can never truly rule over anything else." For the first time in years, the king had no answer. The king looked down at his soup. The fly floated motionless now. He felt the strange sensation of being observed, not by others, but by himself. The fly had simply existed, and he was ready to destroy a man's life because of it. I try to control my anger, the king said. The teacher replied, "It is a habit, and like all habits, it must be practiced. Strength of the mind is no different. You have practiced anger for years. Now practice the pause." The king ruled differently. Not perfectly, he was still human, but consciously. Each time anger rose, he noticed it. Each time emotion threatened to take control, he paused, and in that pause, he chose. Because the struggle he faced is one shared by all. True power begins within. When we learn to govern our kingdom within with wisdom and patience, our outer world begins to change as well.